Today we're going to be drawing this picture of trees. So we have a little touch of autumn with all the different colors. We're going to work with watercolor today. I have an old set of watercolors, but that works just fine. For this project, I have my watercolor paper. You can use any paper that's a little bit thicker, cardstock type thing. And I have a thick paintbrush, a medium size, and a thin one. And I have some line art pens. And of course, my jar of water, which I will put on this side with my paints. And now let's begin. So I'm going to start by doing a background. So I'm going to wet my paintbrush. I'm taking the big, widest brush, and I'm adding lots of water. And I'm just going to make some bulbs of color to start with. I'm adding some yellow, some brown, a little reddish brown here. Some more yellow brown. So I'm not really thinking much about the shape right now, just where I feel would be nice to add in a little color. This is just our background, so we're not going to get too picky. That's the wonderful thing about watercolor. You can just drop off some paint like this and it will make its own beautiful pattern. And you can also just add some water. I'm going to put in a little darker shade on this part, on the bottom, for our ground color. And then a little bit of green as well towards the bottom part. Oh, this is not really planned. I'm just having fun as I go. Kind of like to go towards the edge, but you don't have to. For my sky, I kind of left it like that. Maybe I'll even add a little bit of blue, which will give kind of like a turquoise feel. I don't want to fill it up too much, but it's already kind of full. I just love the colors. And the only thing about painting is you're going to have to be patient for the colors to dry. Well, for the paint to dry. A little bit more green to the grass. All right, I will stop there because I want to give time for this to dry. Maybe make a line here more, just so we see the ground a little more. It's hard to imagine exactly what it's going to look like because once it's dry, you never know. It takes on its own texture and all that, but it's okay, I don't mind. I'm going to leave it like this and let's wait for it to dry. So continuing on with our project, I have here my middle-sized brush, which I will wet. And I'm going to start making my trees. So I'm picking some green, mixing it with some yellow. So I'm kind of going with the autumn colors. And I'm going to just easily make an oval shape. So when it dries, it always dries a little bit lighter. So I'd like to add a little bit more color to it. That way there's more contrast from the background. Because it's nice and wet, you can do the wet on wet technique if you like. That way it gives its own texture, its own little pattern even. I don't like it too perfect. Moving on, for our next tree, I'm going to go with another color, sort of a reddish brown, or orange, reddish orange. Again, I quickly paint in the whole thing, and then I add more color and more water. A little more red. Moving on to our next color, which is brown. I kind of like mixing the dark and the light brown. This one I'll make a little bit taller, just for variety. Maybe it goes behind a little bit. Again, add some more color to it. And my last tree, I'm going to go for kind of a yellowish brown, yellowish brown, beige. Not sure if this is the right color, but we'll try. It's a little bit more greenish than I wanted it to be, but our background has a little blue as well, so it will always end up looking a little bit more green. Maybe I'll make it a little bit lower so that my trees are not all the same height. What's nice about this, it already has a little bit of texture from the background, which is just what I'm going for. If I want more, I just add a little bit darker colors. So something like that. Now we're going to have to let our trees dry, but before that I think I could do my tree trunks. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a dark brown color, and I'm just going to make straight lines down. So this is very simple, kind of a whimsical tree, nothing fancy, just very direct and to the point, straight line down. We're not going to go into all the designs and patterns that a tree trunk and branches could have, because we're going to add a bit more detail to the tree's leaves afterwards. So I like to leave this part very simple. That way you kind of know what you want to focus on in the picture. You could also make your trees short and stubby if you prefer to just make them short like this. You make them all like that. But since I started tall trees, I'm going to continue with my tall tree trunks. So for now, we're just going to leave it like this because it will need to take time to dry. So painting really is a process of learning patience. I think it's great for kids to learn that. And often while waiting for one to paint, I'm going ahead and doing a next one, starting another one, which is kind of fun, but I usually only film one at a time. All right, I'll end here, and we are going to wait some more. Our trees are finally dry. So now I'm going to take my pens, my ink pens, whatever size you have will work just fine. And I'm going to start by making some little branch and leaf details in our trees. So I start from the bottom and I work my way up. Well, my pen doesn't work so well on this paper. Actually, it's a tiny little bit wet. Maybe that's why it caught the wet part. So do make sure that your paint is well dried. I'm going to go ahead and make 3 main lines. Oh, I think I'm going to change pen. If you feel courageous enough, you could use your very thin paintbrush. I'm going to try that just for the thicker lines. And I'm going to go with a very dark brown and even adding a little black to my dark brown. So if you feel that you're confident enough, you can go ahead and make your... I think my paints are not dark enough, so that's why I decided I was gonna try with my pens. But I'm gonna give it one more go. Since my pens are choosing not to work. So you can do it from the middle, kind of curve it a little bit. Doesn't really matter. So we'll go ahead and do that for each of our trees. Oops, I had too much water in that one. So you want to have just the right amount of water and paint. Kind of takes a little getting used to. There, that one was quite nice. Oops, this one's a little bit thicker, but it's okay. It will do. So once you have your 3 lines on each tree, we're going to go ahead and make even smaller lines. So from each one, so here you have to be even more steady with an even finer. This is a little tricky. So I still have too much water on mine. So from each of the 3 branches, we're going to make 2 more, or 3, or 4, just wherever you feel is right to have another branch. So for example, I'd like one here on the side, and one up here. For this branch, I'll have it here. And it's okay if they crisscross with each other. This one I will make a little bit darker, and I can even add another one here. So we're kind of dressing up our trees. This is kind of like a whimsical look of a tree, maybe. You wouldn't see your branches going all the way up, but it makes it extra cute. This one I'm going to add black, definitely, because our tree is already a little bit dark. Here I might crisscross them. And moving on to our last tree. So if your paintbrush is not thin enough, then just go ahead and use pen or even marker. I'm going to make one right there. All right, now I will try my pen again. This is a different one. This one might work a little bit better. And now I'm going to add in some leaves. So from each branch, I'm just going to add cute little leaves like this. Maybe 1 on each branch or 2. If it doesn't work so well, it means your paint is still a little wet, like mine on some parts. So we're going to go all the way up the tree, our next tree. So I chose a black because it kind of helps stand out a little bit more. So this makes for a fun little project activity for autumn because it's loaded with beautiful colors, nature, trees, leaves. Lots of things that I love about this season. I guess I'm kind of getting inspired from nature around me at this moment. So we could get much more into detail with our trees, with our leaves, but this project is staying beginner friendly, yet at the same time still enough challenge because you're working with paint, you're working with pens, ink, and I think I like it. I'm going to add a few little falling leaves around the trees. And on the sides of the trees, I'm just going to add little lines, little blades of grass. So again, you can use your pen or your thin paintbrush. I'm going this time with my pen. It's working well now. And I'll add some little leaves again, or the little seeds of the grass flying all over the place. And if you feel like it, you can also give your little tree trunks some bark pattern or texture. I add little ovals or little lines. This is not really a planned out project. I'm just having fun, and it's not exactly the way I would have imagined it, but it's okay. Sometimes as an artist, you just have to go with the flow, go with your intuition. I'm not so into that the branches are not totally even like that. To me, I would have wanted them to fit nicely together, but you can always kind of fix it if you want. I'm fixing it like this with the pen. I can add another little branch, and then you can go back with your paintbrush if you want. So I'm going to go back with my thin paintbrush. And you can just give it a few little extra branches to fill in those blank spots. Which kind of works actually because it's dark and then it goes a little bit lighter. But if you prefer, you can go ahead and ink these wider branches too. This way, like this, it matches the tree trunks a little better. And the last thing I like to do, I like to add a few little, I like ending with little dots like that, just random. You fill your paintbrush. It's kind of the little tiny seeds falling all over the place. I like adding a little quote to my picture. I just write it first with pencil so I can know where I place my text. So now I can take my pen again and just ink it. Be like a tree. So there's something so calming, so beautiful about trees, I think. Like it says, stay grounded. Definitely that's something that trees teach us. It's great to get wild, creative ideas. Sometimes we need to get away, but we always need to keep our feet on the ground in some way. That's what gives us that security, safety. Keep growing, definitely, that's a must. More and more, as I get older, I'm realizing that I want and I need to keep growing. Not physically, but maybe because we're spending less energy growing physically, it's when we can focus more on growing in other ways, emotionally, spiritually. I love challenging myself in different ways. Knowing when to let go. To me, I see that as knowing when to say no, not pushing myself too hard, and being content and satisfied with where I am. All right, you can end by erasing. Going slow, making sure not to smudge anything. And you can put this on top of your desk as a little reminder for yourself. This is a project you can do in your sketchbook, or you can even offer it to a friend.